Hey, and welcome back to another the Carlos Taco Show. I'm your host, Carlos Tacos, along with Mary, Miss Patty. We got Frank with us, Gavin, Christina, and more to come. Take it away, Miss Patty.
Well, hello everyone. Happy Thursday. This is show number, I'm not sure what show number we're on, but I'm happy that we're covering such an important topic because love is love. Recently, there was a friend of mine, his cousin was beat up and she was a trans woman. So we're going to uplift and raise awareness and share experiences on the LGBTQ community. And I'm happy to have, we have some great guests on our show. We'll be learning a lot about the Solano Pride Center. Thank you, Christina, for joining us. Gavin from the East NAACP, thank you. And Frank, thank you for making the connection to Christina. And she may be able to touch on topics on the Concord Rainbow Center, and they've done amazing support as well for Frank's late cousin, Timothy Charles Lee, and Mary, advocate in the community, familiar with another group. It's called the Mothers of Dragons. So we'll do a round robin, and I just want to just acknowledge the hate. Let's see, we're in 2023, 2024. What year is it?
24.
Okay, 2024.
Planet Earth.
and
Sure, Planet Earth.
You know, we've come a long way. But based on research that I've done, the gay community, LGBTQ plus, people of color are the highest, most targeted and
most targeted, marginalized communities.
Yeah. Yes. And even until recently, in the military, with their formally "don't ask, don't tell" policy, transitioning into "hey, it's okay," and going as far as even supporting transformations for folks that identify with.
They also pay for it. My son has a friend in Korea that went through the transition, and the Army paid for it.
And I love that. We've been given trainings on awareness and acceptance and to not discriminate. So when I saw that, I was like, wow, okay, times are changing. This is great. Because we're all human at the end of the day. It doesn't matter. We're born one way. We're going to all pass, and that's it. So less hate, more love, especially for our LGBTQ community. We can do a round robin of experiences. Personally, I identify as human. Greetings, Tara. We have another guest on the show. Mary, would you like to introduce her?
So Tara is my trusty sidekick. She has beautiful kids that have taught me so much about inclusion and love. She's my friend that shared with me about the Mama of Dragons, and she's got a lot of mom advice that maybe the rest of us don't have.
Oh, okay. So happy to have you for being here.
Patty, can we ask people to mute themselves if they're not talking?
Yes.
Thank you. There's a little bit of background noise, and it just kind of overcomes. When it's your time to talk, just feel free to unmute everybody. That'll help us out with background noise. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Thank you, Frank. Okay, so acknowledging the hate, here in the Bay Area, we have the Castro District. There is a big historical background on that. I've been to, has anybody been to Gay Pride? Gay Pride in the city? I've been there once. Yes, Christina.
I grew up there.
I've been to a couple of prides.
I've been to Concord Pride, my first Pride event.
Well, I went to Hollywood Pride. I've been to SF Pride 3 times now.
Community, if you've never been, I mean, it's just.
I mean, there's a lot of them.
And peaceful, and it's like it's just an experience that I recommend for folks to just get to know the communities and see the love and feel the energy. And it's I have some pictures somewhere on my Facebook, but it's a beautiful time. So let's go for a round robin. Let's talk about love, maybe coming out, transitioning. Would anybody like to go first? Gavin? No, maybe Sarah, Christina.
You want me to tell you about mine?
Sure.
Sure. Sorry about that. I had like technical difficulties with the internet.
It's okay. So
Still
love.
fighting me, but I fought back.
Hey, you made it.
um, for me, coming out, it wasn't that big of a deal that I thought it would be. I'm gonna say that first. Mainly because my family was like, "Yeah, we already know," and my mom had like this funny thing where she always was like, "I knew from the womb." Like she always like had this sense of presence, and she was just like always wondering, like, what if he just is gay?
Mm.
And then, like 15 years later, I just come out. So that was a big part of that, and I do love that. I love my family that's always genuinely loved and support me, and I love having also a mixed um group of family members that also come from the LGBTQ community as well. Um, a few of my close relatives as well, but
And
it's
was
not.
there like a sense of liberation and come and just being free to be who you are? Did
Mhm.
you feel
Yeah, I felt fine. It was just I just felt like it was just a normal day in office. But as to what came after that was horrific because as my family was acceptance, my some of the schools that I went to wasn't, and that's where it came to be bullying and people was sending me scriptures of the Bible and saying that I'm a burn in hell, saying that Jesus doesn't love me, and there's been people, even some people, even today in the community, that will tell you, be like, we could just pray it away. There's people that still talk like that, and there's people that talk as I'm like an abomination. Well, I'm being newsflash. Ever since I was born black, I've been hated on the white side community that I was abomination. I was treated as an abomination. As an African American male, I've been treated as a third degree citizen, if not fourth degree, as an African American. And that's just come through the history of it. So me being gay ain't nothing to it. It's just some of the extra stuff that came with it is really unnecessary. And people need to learn to accept and move on. And even still in the community, there's community people that claim to have your back and claim they're pro you, but they will turn around and try to use it against you. There's people that have been trying that will use it against you in the meeting. There's people that will use it against you in the workplace, church, you name it. And it doesn't matter if you're gay, bi, or straight. It doesn't matter if you're trans. It doesn't matter if you're black, if you're Latino. They're going to find some reason to do that because they're hateful, because they cannot be you. They are mad because whatever else they got hiding inside of themselves. And I take this with me anywhere when I see a homophobic comment, a homophobic person. I'm like, that is so sad that this person has to show their hate because they're hating themselves and they want to hide who they are. And the truth is they're the ones still hiding. I'm not. They're mad because I feel comfortable standing in my truth and someone else isn't.
wow, that was really deep. I'm so sorry that you went through that and those challenges that you went through. And thankfully, we have organizations like that of the Solano Pride Center, and the Mothers of Dragons. I think, no, you're absolutely right. When it's bottled in, and I'm guilty of using homophobic terms, and I'm going to apologize publicly. Um, I went through a relationship, a past one, and it was confusing. I'm still not sure about it, but I believe that this person was bottling it in and abusing me and making me feel a certain way. And that was the only way that I could react because I didn't know and I was confused. Um, but I just wanted this person to be free about it. And I even accepted it. And so acceptance is huge. Um, yeah. Thank you for using your voice and not being afraid and living in your truth. So that's amazing. Would anybody else like to share an experience of coming out?
I can go.
Okay, Christina. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being so honest, everyone, so far. That's a kind of a complex issue with me. There are people that they want to come out to the world, to everybody they meet. I'm a little different. I kind of pick and choose who I come out to, because in the past, I've actually met people that I knew from a long time ago, that before I was like this, and I'd come up to them and thought it was okay to say, hi, you remember me? Well, this is me now. And it didn't turn out well. It didn't turn out well. And there's a saying out there, or a question that people ask, and that's, if your best friend turned out to be gay, would you still love them? And people are always like, oh yeah, he's my best friend. It doesn't work that way. Things really change. Once you inform them, things change. They treat you differently. Things just change. So, I mean, I came out to my brother, and I even waited a while because he was for a while. And he was going through a born again thing, and then he didn't wasn't so strict about it. He kind of left it a little bit, and that's when I decided to, because I knew that when he was born again, he wouldn't accept me. And so my sister doesn't know, my father doesn't know, my mother has passed, and it's like that. I think being stealth, going stealth is still valid. You don't have to come out to everyone.
Thank you. Yeah, unfortunately, we live in a judgmental society, and people are always judging. One day we'll get past that. Um, Thank you for sharing, Christina. Mary, go ahead, Mary.
So I have two children that are bisexual, and I remember when they first were coming out, they were so stinking cute because everybody would load in my car with all their friends and they would all announce their sexuality. And at first I was kind of put off by it. I was just like, I don't jump in the car and tell everybody about sex, Why are you telling me about sex? But it was important to them because it was a piece of them that they identified with, that they wanted to be accepted. And so I learned a lot of like Christina said, some are stealth. Like I have somebody very close in my life that hasn't told people, but they've told me. And then I have kids and friends of kids and my nephew and his beautiful relationship that are very proud and are out there. And I think you're absolutely correct that there are changes. My best friend actually did come out to me and tell me that she was gay back in 1995, and she's still my best friend. And I went to her wedding, and it was beautiful. And I'm gonna cry thinking about it. But it does change. I remember her being very scared of telling people, and very happy that our relationship didn't change. So that's my story. I've got a big wonderful family full of people that are not heterosexual, and they're beautiful. I mean, there's nothing I wouldn't do in the world for them.
Thank you, Mary, for sharing. Would anyone else like to share any kind of coming out, love?
I guess I can. It's not a coming out for me, but although I guess kind of open-minded, just been with the same person for 30 years. First, okay, my mom was bi. She came out to us, she was like 40 years old when she originally came out. So this was what? I was 4 or 5 when she came out. Yeah, I'm dating myself. Sort of. She was 40 years old when she came out, and she tried to explain it, I guess, when we were 5. Me and my twin brother were 5. And, I didn't really get it, obviously, at that age. And she never really talked much about it after that. It just, through the years kind of got the idea. She was still with our dad, married to my dad. And they had, I guess, an arrangement, an agreement that she could see other women, but not other men. But that's beside the point. But I remember growing up, especially like in high school and everything, feeling really insecure about people knowing that my mom was gay, back in early 90s, 80s. It was kind of uncomfortable. And I know my older sister felt the same way, but she's much older than me. But that kind of, I don't know, kind of helped form some of my basis, I guess, on how I feel about my kids coming out later, just being a little more protective of it, I guess. Not that I never didn't accept them or anything like that. It was more being scared of how people were going to react to it. And I remember long before my oldest came out, we had talked. We used to have to have long drives back and forth. When we first moved to Antioch, we had to drive back and forth to the South Bay like 3 times a week, and we'd have these long talks in the car. And their older siblings would hear the conversations. I know that, but I remember a couple of times sexuality came out and gender identity and everything, and they were kind of teaching me some of the newer terms and stuff like that, but get the general gist that they knew I was accepting. So it was kind of strange to me when my middle child, when he came out, at this time he came out only as being gay. Later he came out as being trans. And this was when he was about 13, 14. And he came out actually when we were in a therapy session. And he was so scared to tell me. I was like, not that I already knew, but that I felt like, why did you feel like it was so scary to tell me? Like, didn't you know how accepting I was of it? I guess I didn't portray that enough to show him that. And then my oldest, when they came out, it really wasn't really them actually coming out. They're like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm a lesbian, like, okay. And I think they had said like they had a date with a coworker or something like that, and that's when they came out. So it wasn't really actually coming out to me per se. But yeah, there's been a lot of stuff that we've had to work through as a family, obviously, you know, for different reasons, with them coming out, with my middle son being trans and transitioning, and you know, not really detransitioning, but deciding to stop hormone therapy, and kind of reevaluating labels, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful that they have such an amazing and supportive mama just to be there for them and through that transition. Need more moms like you. You know, I wondered for my kid. I was like, well, if I end up having, you know, because those thoughts did cross my mind, because then you think, well, they can be victimized to a lot of things. And it's important that we are aware of how scary it can be for folks that are that are LGBTQ plus, especially like 2 weeks ago that one of my friends, he called me. He said, "Hey, can you pick up my cousin? She was just beat up." Um, and I had just met her, and she was a beautiful trans woman, and I felt for her, and I was a distance away, but I was like, "Hey, like make sure you file a report, get as much information as you can, because it's a hate crime. These are hate crimes when folks attack and target." What do you all think about having more support in schools? Because there's folks that are like, no, we don't want any drag coming through and telling stories. Go ahead, Tara.
Oh, I was just going to say that I know for a fact there are some groups, at least in Antioch schools, that do help LGBTQ kids, and they're there for them.
And these folks are outside of the school district. They're separate from the school district.
There's people who come in. I know that there was somebody who used to do it from the Rainbow Center that used to come. I don't know if they still run it through there, but I know that they do have a gay alliance club.
Okay.
At least one of the high schools. I'm not sure about anything else. There's an okay amount
I
of
saw this club
in this area.
college. That's when I first saw. It would be nice if they had these spaces for youth, high school, middle school.
Well, I was very happy when my oldest was just about a senior. Like they, not the high school, but I think it was the Rainbow Center that actually did it, that organized a gay prom. And both of my older two, who they both brought dates, and they really liked it.
Yes,
they enjoyed it.
Yes, Tara, you're correct. Rainbow had their first Pride prom last year, and not only that, they had a Camp Fierce, a summer camp for kids, LGBTQIA plus kids, and just being there. Oh my God, it was amazing to see the kids happy, to see the parents happy, and also they also have and they still have a support group of parents of trans and non-conforming kids, which is so important and new to everybody, to have parents and their kids talking about the issues.
That's beautiful. To anyone out there that is anti these awareness spaces, I'm going to say you're wrong, because we have to have this awareness because there are bullies and we need to stop raising bullies. Go ahead, Jen.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I have seen data in a couple of places that have said that when families and friends and everything, when youth don't feel like they're affirmed or they're supported as being in the LGBTQ community, they are actually 40% more likely to commit suicide. And they're also much more likely to harm themselves, like
Could I
shooting, doing drugs, whatever it be.
I was going to say, could I ask you, Christina, about that? Because I know at the event for Next Benedict the other day, there was a lot of talk about the affirmation that Tara was just talking about and what it does to a young person when they're in a supportive environment, the proper pronouns that they choose to use being used. I'm sorry, I think someone's coming home. The dog is getting hyped up. But could you talk about the importance of that support that Tara was talking about and what
Yes.
it means for people when the proper pronouns that they choose to have are used and other things of that nature and the difference it makes for young people?
I know me personally, I'm not, I don't use pronouns. And coming into Rainbow, I had that way. And I quickly found out that it's not all about me. It's the youth. If they don't hear their pronoun, they will not feel accepted. And and you're correct, Tara. Again, the Trevor Project has a study that I forget the percentage, but it's about 40% of the kids that are not accepted or supported by not even one member of their family or chosen family. Then it can go south. Um, uh, yeah, that's. Thanks for asking.
So, and then the folks that say like, oh, they're going to change my child or they're going to influence. No, we are born how we are, our heart and our minds. That's how we are. And if there is a transition and they feel it in their hearts, that's okay. That is their business and that's their life. And no one should impede on that or oppress or bully or so I fully support those spaces to continue in schools and our communities to raise awareness and stop that stigma of being and discriminating against, because historically in Native American culture and in history there was like two-spirit people, and so this isn't a brand new thing. This is in our history of humanity.
Could I say something here too?
Yes, please, Frank.
I didn't get to say at the beginning when we were talking about the historical times, but anything that has DNA or chromosomes can have any sort of hundreds of thousands of variations, plants, animals, everything. So why would humans be any different? And it goes back, I think, a lot to like religion, patriarchy, and stuff like that. Many cultures did and still do have a place for what you just referred to, which is not an ancient term, but a newer term, two spirits. And there's other cultures that have practiced for thousands of years. When someone would come in, and I think the two spirit term is great actually, because it in that point talks about someone having a foot in one world and the other world. And they were looked up to in many cases as shaman or medicine people. And I think in the Philippines, it goes back to like 10,000 years where they talked about it. You look at the Hindu religion, many of their deities are not even of any sex. They could be fluid and be any sex. And so I think that's important to realize. And I want to do a shameless plug here for a podcast that I worked on called Movement Generation. and it was called "Did We Go Too Far?" And that's the name of the podcast. I'll share it in the link, and then maybe Mary could share it out later, or all of you can grab it. And
Yes.
it's where I learned a lot of this about plants, animals, and DNA. And everything has, like, to use one term, a queer side or a queer nature to it, where it's not always, black or white. There's thousands of shades in the middle. And that was something I learned as part of working with the Movement Generation podcast. And just a little history for myself. Growing up in Antioch, it was stigmatized if you might be a gay person, or let alone anything else on the rainbow. And I feel like the stigma was hardcore back then, and it still is. Although we've changed, it still is. And I feel like if it was more accepting, people would be able to come out a lot more and easier, instead of hide for decades of their life and not live to the fullest. And one thing else I wanted to say about this was, I'm losing my train of thought on it. Well, I'll come back to it. But I'll put the Movement Generation podcast. It had something coming from that, and in the chat, and then folks could share it out and check it out, because I really learned a lot from it. Oh, I know what I wanted to go back to. When I went to KPFA to start my apprenticeship program, they make a group of folks that are multi-generational, so young, over 21, up to seniors that could make it and still edit and do radio and stuff. And they would also do multicultural, and they would try to mix us up as far as the LGBT straight community. They would be all those different ranges. And that's where I met one of my best friends, who was a trans person. He was a woman to a man, my friend Ever. And I learned a lot from Ever. I still stay in contact with Ever, and I took my apprenticeship program in 2005. And that was for me, besides my cousin Timmy that we mentioned briefly.
Yes.
One of my first experiences, like having a friend, someone I can count on and hang out with, go places with, do things with, that helped me learn how to be more accepting. I think when you grow up in the United States, you are born and like forced into the bias. So even if you don't even know what you're talking about, and other people that are older are like making derogatory comments, you might just be like watching and learning, be like, yeah. So when you said
It's
what you
passed
said,
down,
Patty,
and we're a binary community.
yeah, when you said you were apologizing, I think we all kind of owe that apology, myself too included, as being a young person, doesn't even know what I'm talking about.
Right.
But thankfully, I've grown and I've learned from people like Ever and other folks in the community that no, we are just all one people with multiple variations on life. And I'll end it on that and let other folks talk. But I will put the did we go too far podcast in the chat.
Sweet. I'll share it on my page. And then to uplift, y'all, if you don't know, to our audience also, Frank's cousin, Timothy Charles Lee, was a gay, Native and Black man. He was lynched in the city of Concord. We want to reopen that case. He was an artist. He was into fashion, and he was on his way to Milan, Italy, from the San Francisco Academy of Art, I believe it was. An art school in the city, and he was lynched. They deemed it a suicide. The family and other investigations have found that there are reasons to believe that that was absolutely not a suicide, and especially what he had coming to his future. He had a future in the fashion industry. So we want to reopen the case. We want to ask Concord, the city of Concord, Rob Banta, to reopen that. There is a Facebook page. It's called, go ahead, Frank.
Reopen the case of Timothy Charles Lee. I'll also throw that in the chat. And one thing I think about, and when I think about Timmy, we could all be wearing his designs, right? We could all be doing who knows if he come up with a one-word name. You know how they do that? Like it could be three, or maybe he could have three names, Timothy Charles Lee, So we could all be wearing his fashion. And there's a song I like to share, and I'm going to think of the name in a minute. But one of the lines in the song is, "I wonder what he would say if he were here today." And so that's what I wonder is like if Timmy was here, and he could very well possibly live to this day if he was allowed to. What would he be saying in these times? What would his future have been with fashion? Would we be wearing, Timmy's designs, And I feel like we were robbed of that. So if you do want to support the reopening of Timmy's case, please, if you're on Facebook, I'm going to try to expand in 2024 to Instagram. I don't really know it that well. But if you're still on Facebook, you can go to reopen the case of Timothy Charles Lee. And if you don't do Facebook, you can just search for the petition, Timothy Charles Lee, on what's that petition site?
Change.org.
Change.org. Yeah. So check that out, and I'll put it in the chat. And thank you for bringing up Timmy's name.
Of course, of course. Let's learn about the services offered locally. When I first learned about the Rainbow Community Center, that was through Frank, and they honored Timothy Charles Lee. They named a room after him, so that was beautiful. And then we have Miss Christina, who works at the Solano Pride Center. And can you please tell us why are these spaces important? What different services are offered? Yes, please.
Thank you. So I know I've talked about Rainbow, but I would love to talk about Solano Pride Center in Fairfield. We're at 1234 Empire Street. We're always reaching out to multicultural communities, and also reaching out to trans communities. And we just recently had a Trans Day of Visibility event, and we decided to have this at the mall and say I'm new there. So I'm getting to know the city because I live in Pittsburgh and I work in Solano County. But it was a mall, and it's around the area there. So it's around Fairfield, because it's cut up like in different pieces, that whole area, and you just like go a couple blocks and you're in another city. But so it's around the area, but it's at the Solano Town Mall, and there's a hub there where they make it accessible to community, and you can have that space for free with an event you might have or any community gathering. And so we decided to have it there, and we didn't have any problems. People walked up and looked at the signs and just walked away. I didn't see any grimaces. I didn't see any anger. Some people came in, and that's exactly what we wanted. We're always, especially our executive director has huge interest with the trans community, and really reaches out. And I'm in charge of some of the trans events, and so I'm always thinking of what to do and to bring in trans community of different cultures and intersectionalities. So the next one is Trans Day of Remembrance, November 20. And we're having a gender expansion circle, which is a support group, and on and on and on, and just trying to reach out. Because Solano County is very conservative, and we've gotten a lot of pushback. They wouldn't raise the flag, and so we know where we're standing, and so we're pushing, and that mall experience was amazing because we were out in the open, Trans Day of Visibility, and we were.
Yeah, there is a real pushback. Here in the city of Antioch, we were able to raise the flag. Did we get pushback? They would have tried.
We did have some people that talked against it. I know that on my page personally, people were really against it. I did caption Robin's conversation that she had, and that conversation went, kind of like this. But we did get some pushback. but ultimately we're on year 2. And Christina, I want to ask you that if you have any events or anything that we can help be a platform for and spread news and just grab my name or Patty's name or even Frank, and they'll get it to me, and I'll make sure that it gets on our pages. And Carlos and I both run multiple pages, so we can get it out to
That
over
sounds wonderful.
24,000 people within
Thank you
minutes.
so much for the offer. Thank you.
Yeah.
Franklin, can I go to you for their contact info?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I'll throw it out there real quick. I mentioned, well, thank you, Christina, for mentioning Rainbow. And I did reach out to folks. I got a call back and they said that they would try to find someone. No one ever contacted me. But I did say I would read off some of their programs. And I know, Christina, you may have said some if I missed it, but just so folks know, they do have youth programs at Rainbow Community Center supporting a positive self-identity for youth and young adults, LGBTQIA plus community. And they also have a unhoused or houseless transitional youth program, community mental health services, HIV education and prevention programs, older adult programs. I hope those are all there. Christina knows, and as I do that, they recently went through some challenges at Rainbow. But those are some of the services offered. And they did throw a great event for the young non-binary person from Oklahoma, I believe it was, next Benedict. And I was lucky enough to be there. Well, I went, so I wouldn't say it was luck, but I did get to film a video of that, and I could post the video also in the chat if folks want to share it. And I don't know, did folks know about Next Benedict? Christina, do you want to tell us a little bit about who Next was and, you know, the event that we had in Concord? I know you were there.
Sure. Rainbow had their a vigil for Next Benedict. Next Benedict was a teenager in high school, and they went to the bathroom and got assaulted. And the school, the story, you know, there's many theories about what happened, but they were assaulted and unconscious, and the school did not call the ambulance or anybody. They called the parents, and the parents came and took them away, and then they called and they took them to the hospital, and that's where they passed away. So there's a lot of things going wrong there, but I'm sorry, what was the question?
Just saying who was Next Benedict. And so the story continues on that Next went home, and
and the final verdict was that was a suicide, just like with Timothy. It seems like that's their you know, comfort zone to say it's a suicide, and it was not a suicide, not at all.
Yeah, so Next went home and suffered some adverse effects from the head trauma, is what some folks believe, because they did something that is a sign of head trauma, where they postured and their body was in a funny position. Later taken to the hospital, and they said there was some sort of drugs in the system. Nobody really knows yet, because an official story hasn't, or it may have come out yet. We'll have to check. But they did rule it a suicide. But people are saying they're not accepting that until there's, you know, a more thorough evaluation. And then folks brought up Timothy's case as another example of how they go to suicide. So we are still, you know, holding out judgment. And if Next did take their own life, it's still, you know, a sign of the times of what happened to Next as a person who was bullied, harassed, and attacked. And time will tell what happened, and we should keep our eyes on that. But I think the story is, you know, the important part, what happened, and, you know, what they're saying about Next. And we'll have to wait and see, you know. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is why we're going to Gosh, that's so sad. How old was Nex?
I don't know the exact age.
They were in high school, so somewhere,
15,
from
16, 17.
yeah.
I think they were 15.
Yeah, it's so difficult. And here we have a youth, Gavin, that you're closest to being in those high school spaces. And have you yourself experienced, within the school, any kind of hate? Like, what are the challenges of being like an African American couple in the LGBTQ plus community? Um, have you
Um,
experienced?
yes.
Okay.
Um, for me as a
Thank you, Ellie.
thank you, Ellie. For me as a African American male and being gay, openly gay at that, um, there's always going to be some challenges, especially in schools. And when we talk about these supports and all these things, it does not necessarily always apply to LGBTQ of color, and especially in the African American community, because we get the short end of the stick. We're kind of just like cut out, and our stories are not always told. And when we want to fight for that, we even have to fight even harder because we're Black and LGBTQ. It is such like a struggle. Instead of us always coming together, it's not all the time the case. And a lot of these stories, just because it doesn't matter if you're the way I see it, when I see things that happen on the news, when they mention this person was LGBTQ and Black, and this person was Black, I see it as one because they do the same thing. It's like attack on African Americans as a whole, because anytime they want to do something shady, like kill us off and paint it off as a suicide attempt, or paint it off and as if we went missing, it always paints off that way in the media, but that's not always the truth. And that's what I mean. Our stories are going untold, and it's going to be up to us to stick together as a community and really, I wouldn't say wake up, but more of like be aware of your surroundings. Not only your surroundings around you, but pay attention what's going on in the media. If you know something that has trickled off or notice something that don't add up to you, speak on that. That's how you can show up for your people. That's how you can show up for your community, because and that's how you show support is you speak up saying, "Hey, this person is missing. We need to go 10 times beyond. It does need to be, I would say, all the people that went missing. I think Mary Les, me and you just had this conversation where we was talking about how many people have went missing.
Did you know there were
And
over 2,300 people on that report I got back?
right. And almost every single one of them deserves to be on the news. And almost every single one of them names need to be said. And there needs to be active search parties. And that's where community needs to come. We have the power of technology. We have the powers of our phones and iPhones and cameras. Let's use them to our advantages if they don't. They have technology and resources. Let's use ours to help find each other, bring each other back to our families, bring each other back to our homes. Because I'm guarantee you, there's a grandmother that's still crying at home, wishing her baby was still there to come home for Sunday dinner. There's always going to be someone that's going to be there. There's going to be always an auntie and uncle missing their niece and nephew. There's going to be someone that's going to be missing you. That could be your best friend. It could be your friend. It could be even your own, the person that you may think your enemy, may be the person that might have your back, be the first one to say, hey, we need to be looking for this person.
Thank you. Thank you for lifting that. I just listened to a partial little podcast where it's called Missing and Murdered Indigenous Persons. And yes, and the folks that are doing the investigative work. It's folks, it's community members, and there should absolutely be more support. Um, and unfortunately, because of this bias and folks in uniform that have used derogatory terms, and referenced people because of their sexual orientation, like in the Antioch Police Department, if you look in the racist text messages, they used disgusting terms. They called Frank some disgusting homophobic terms. So we need to get that out of the system ASAP, because we're not safe. This is a public safety issue.
Mm-hmm. I just
I almost wonder, sorry, I almost wonder when you're talking about the police department, if they had the tags on them with their pronouns, if that would make it easier for some people to communicate with them. Because I'm sure that there's people that are in the police department that, you know,
Identify.
identify differently than, officer blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
Something that personalizes them so that they're more approachable. And I know that
Respect.
some of them do really horrific things and it's really hard to trust them.
Mhm.
But I think bringing more normal to them that makes the community feel more comfortable could be a good positive step. And I bet you, if we went and talked to Officer Vigil, who said that they would wrap a police car in Pride for us next year if we raise enough money to get the wrap, I bet you that he would be for that.
I
And
could
could
design
be
the
our
wrap.
person in.
We're gonna do it. I'll design it
Yeah.
for free.
Because I've already talked to him about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Media cares. They were accessible. Both sides need to reach out. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in, Cron 4. We appreciate you. Yes, let's be in touch. ¿Qué más? Let's look at the time. Go ahead.
I just wanted to answer your question about the Black love.
Yes.
As for as Black love, especially Black LGBTQ love, we need to talk about that more. That does need to be like its own segment conversation within itself. And I must say this why. It's because it's not talked it's not talked about like that. It's not expressed like that. We need more conversations surrounding that. And when we do have movies and films about those topics, it's not really always in the best light. And we do need to bring that into the more of light and up front so everyone knows what it is and what it means to people just like me and the other LGBTQ married couples out there. Because love is unconditional. Love is challenging. Love is sometimes tears, but it's sometimes the tears of joy. And it's frustration and anger sometimes, but that's with any challenge going through life. And for me, challenges come outside of that. There's people, I was with another person and I was with another man. And the challenge that we faced, because we kind of had that working experience, but we was able to work together and just separate that. But it was so funny that how people that knew that we was together was like trying to insinuate other stuff outside, and it was just so jealous and hateful of that. And why they was so jealous and hateful, I have no idea why, but they was so jealous and hateful because they couldn't have the relationship me and that person have, and me and that person have a friendship that is tight.
Mhm.
When you have a friendship that's tight after a relationship, that is a that is not only a friend, but that is you're probably one of your most ride or dies.
Mhm.
Because if you could be friends and then jump into a relationship and still be friends after that, that is something to stand for in itself because that is something to cherish. Do not let that go because that is the most magical thing you can have. And I would say this before, like relationship. I'm not a relationship expert or anything. Trust me, but I would suggest make sure you have a friend foundation before you jump into a relationship. If you don't have that friendship, Because if you can't laugh and talk with that person, you can't be like, hey, let's have a sleepover right now at, and watch scary movies tonight. If you don't
Yeah.
have like, let's play video games or do something fun like that, you're not. How are you gonna grow? You need to be able to grow with that person. You need to be able to laugh and have fun, and that's true with any relationships. You need to be able to laugh and have fun in your life because laughter goes a long way and it helps you live longer.
That would be a great topic. Maybe a topic on relationships and overcoming heartbreaks and developing relationships, healthy relationships versus. Did we do one on love? We can do it again. We could do another one on black love. I think that's great. I have a couple friends.
We did it on love in general, but we did not do it on relationships. And that would be good, especially how people view relationships and the different relationships, how they are. That's great. Gavin, you're the host.
All right.
Miss Christine.
I just wanted to say that there's a lot of anger out there. Trans people are angry, and there's a support group at Rainbow called Gender Voice, which I facilitate every now and then, and I'm seeing a lot of anger, anger that they don't want to go back to being peaceful. They want to stay angry, and I there's a lot of atrocities, a lot of opposition. We should be angry, but we should also be focused. And things we are doing, our ED at Solar Pride Center, it's magnificent stuff. Just last week we went to, there's an organization called Equality California, and they facilitate a way for us, any organization, to come and meet the assembly people, senators, and the legislators that are making the laws and the bills. So we had a chance to go over and talk with them. And I really feel that if you're angry, go and change the laws. Don't argue with people. Go and change the laws. That's where your anger should be going. And next week we're going again on the 23rd.
Sweet. Such as marriages. Like, who is the government to say that they cannot get married? That if you're the same sex cannot, like that? No, I disagree. Like, love is love, and it should be federally. Is it a federal thing yet? Is it
No.
federally accepted yet? See that? Go ahead, Gavin. I see you got something to say.
Yeah, I'm a burning topic on this one. First of all, I don't think anyone should be telling anybody, especially a woman's rights to choose. I don't feel like our government needs to tell us who to marry. I don't think the government needs to tell us whether or not when we should be protesting and speaking because of our skin color. And I don't think it should need to be dictated of who has the right to vote and who doesn't. I don't think it has the right to dictate of shutting down youth voices just because of their ages. I feel like if you have a voice and you need to speak that, speak your truth, speak it, make it be loud, and be who you are. Because at the end of the day, the truth is what you stand on, and the truth is what brought you here. And if it wasn't for the truth, where would we be now as a country? I'm be honest, because the truth is what made the changes in our countries that we made them. There is a lot of wrongs in our government right now, but what are you guys going to do? And that's why we need to bring youth to lobby day, because we need to make sure our youth are heard, not just youth that look African American, but we need to bring the LGBTQ African Americans out there as well, because their voices is just as important as ours is, as just as anyone else in this room.
Yes, the youth is our future. Well,
Bring them on here. Bring on the youth. We want to lift you up on our platform.
Yes.
Get those kids on here. We want to hear their stories. We want to hear what they want, and we want to build off of that. We want to help them.
I can get you some kids.
Get us some kids.
Right.
Before you shut down the show, though, I need you to hear about what Mamas of Dragons is, because my friend Tara here has been telling me about this for years, and I just love the idea. I love it.
It's actually called Mama Dragons.
Oops.
And it's a nonprofit organization. I guess you could say it's based in Utah. It was founded a few decades ago by several women from the LDS church that were kind of disillusioned with the church and how they were treating their kids or their family members because they came out, and a lot of them left the church. Some have moved on to other churches but are still active in LDS, but it's not a religious group. They do have some sub groups off of it, sub chat groups and stuff. It's very active on Facebook. They have some subgroups that are more religious, but most of it is not. Basically, all it is it's a group of moms supporting and educating other moms as they go through the journey of hopefully affirming their LGBTQ kids and offering, safe space for them. They also offer online courses called Parachute that educates other parents with their kids coming out. We have moms that come on there that their kid just came out a week ago and they're like, is this a phase? Just going through the whole gamut of, where we've all been. There's the moms of trans kids that are mourning the kid that they thought they had. My son wants to be a girl, and now I have to mourn my son. And it's getting them to realize, hey, he really always was a girl. It's just you didn't know. and there's people who are, maybe more experienced that can help even more experienced people, like through different stages with their kids and adult children. It's been a very supportive group. We actually also give out, we have a group of moms that give out cards of encouragement, stickers and little notes and stuff that we send to LGBTQ youth, and just to let them know that we care and that there are people out there that actually, appreciate that they're in the world and that they are contributing to it. And there's also a group of us that we have a program called Wrapped in Hugs. We used to do it for the kids. Now we only do it for the moms, because that's what the group was originally intended for, was to support the moms. But we send moms either who nominate themselves or somebody else nominates them that are having a particularly hard time. And we'll send them a blanket, either crocheted or knitted or quilted, whatever, tied fleece blankets, whatever, so that they can remember that
someone cares.
Yeah.
Tara, I was looking for a thumbs up or a heart, but I think I'll just use this.
So it's a great group of women, and it's actually international. I mean, most of us are in the US. There's a few in Canada. I know there's a couple in Mexico and a few in the UK, but I'm not. So it's international, but we have subgroups for different areas and what's going on, and they meet up in real life too. It's not just online. Like, they get together and we'll do things. Sometimes we'll have booths at pride parades and stuff. But yeah, it's a great group. It really is. And I had a friend turn me on to it a few years ago. I didn't know about them when my son first came out. But now I'm very glad to have them as part of my life. Definitely.
Love it. I love it. Thank you all. Thank you for sharing just the amazing organizations that we have in our community. So our audience, when you see these organizations out, or if you can donate, or if you can volunteer time, and just help spread love and awareness and acceptance of our LGBTQI plus community, to stop the hate, stop attacks, stop discrimination, and expand equal rights to this community. Let's
And
do that.
remember, who you love might be, be careful who you hate, because it might be someone you love.
That's beautiful. We can end on that. Gavin.
Yes, I just want to quickly mention there are some Black LGBTQ films that are coming out this summer, so keep an eye on that. One of their student films, they're coming from the Academy of Art and University, is a one scene film, but one of them, I worked on 3 of these projects. One is called Cafe Coded Heart, and that is a love romantic comedy. And there's one called Notice, and I believe that is a drama. And then another drama would be Police Brutality. And those 3 films are very, very interesting and very powerful within themselves, and they very deserve looking into.
Where can we find it?
Yeah.
They're coming out June, I believe June 29th. But the flyer and details are not there yet, so I will
But you'll
definitely.
give that to me so that I can spread it, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe we'll
I'll
loop
give it
back
to you.
around in June and talk about this again.
Yes, but I wanted to make sure people knew about it and spread awareness about it, because these
Absolutely.
students' voices do deserve to be heard because they worked so hard for it.
Yes.
Well, I
Sacramento
can't wait.
just
I love independent films. Go ahead.
Sacramento just made themselves a sanctuary state for transgender folks.
Wow.
I love it. I love that.
We need more of that.
Well,
Frank.
We do need
could
more
I
of
just
that.
say thanks to everybody that jumped on. Christina, thanks for jumping on with us.
Thank you.
I appreciate you always coming through when I need you, and I hope I can be there when I can. I get out there when I can. I know I want to be everywhere. You know how it is, but just thank you for showing up tonight, and everybody else too. And did you want me to do the announcements to remind folks that don't forget we're here every Thursday?
Before you do that,
Oh, go ahead, Mary.
If you guys are dying to get Carlos taco shirts, the proceeds are going to our emergency fund. So if you have somebody who's on the street, who's short on rent, who can't pay their medical bills, we have a fund that we can pull from. But if we don't make any money, we don't have any fund. So if you want a beautiful shirt with our logo on it, go click on our QR code and see what we got.
I think we should also
coming soon.
keep in touch.
Keep in touch.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Now,
So
Frank, it's
thank
your
you for
turn.
that, Mary. And tune in every Thursday at 8 p.m. To join the Carlos Taco Show. Also, follow the page, like the page. I don't know where you're at, Carlos. Patty, are you on Instagram? Where is Carlos Taco be found? Facebook, YouTube?
Facebook, Instagram, website. Yeah, Mary? Did I forget one?
YouTube.
YouTube.
Thank you to Carlos. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Carlos.
Thank you, Carlos. Don't forget that Zyrtec. That's what I've been doing.
Yeah.
Zyrtec.
Allergies.